Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Dive podcast, man. Brought to you by the Hogs Haven SB Nation's website, blog site. I'm your host, Marley Mual, Coach Mual, Hen Dog Mual, all that good stuff, man. In here with the fellas, man. Dre, AJ, I ain't talked to y'all in like 5 weeks. So
I know, man. Remember, I hit y'all up the other day. I was like, damn, let me see what the boys doing. I had to text y'all. I was, especially you, Maul. I know AJ, I've been seeing a lot, but Maul, I was like, damn, I'm worried about my man Maul. I know the injury got him down, and I ain't heard from him. So, you know, I had to check in on y'all boys, man. It's good to be back.
Look, man, it's a good time.
That boy Maul ghosted us.
I know, right?
Hit us with the ghost.
Man, it's good timing, bro. Going through a couple things, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's like I said, life be lifing, bro. So it was well timing because I know training camp is picking up, football is picking up. You know, you get a 2-week period where you can just process things and just keep it pushing, bro. So we good, bro. We good, man. It's crazy though, because as the time that what's going on, Amani, appreciate you checking in. Let's get a quick administrative item thing out of the way, man. If you are listening, let's start with the YouTube side. If you're watching on YouTube, man, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We definitely appreciate that. If you are listening on Apple or Spotify, man, do us a favor. I know the numbers that come through our podcast, man. And, you know, I don't really make a big deal out of it in the past. And I said this earlier this week, man, but listen, help us out. You know what I'm saying? Leave a rating and review, man. Take 2 seconds to do it. We definitely appreciate it if you take that time out to handle that. I don't know why I just stuttered right there, but we definitely appreciate it if you can just take some time out to leave us a rating and review, man. And we can keep things pushing that way, especially when we get into the 2023 season, man. So that being said, fellas, last time we was here, you know, it was still technically under Dan Snyder's ownership, and what, a week into the ownership change, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, bro. Like, yeah, I'm starting to. I told y'all, like, I was a little concerned about like how I would be feeling about this team, like how long it would take for me to kind of recover from the Dan Snyder era, and the way things are looking, I don't see an area in which there is a stone that wasn't unturned. And what I mean by that is like everything from the business side to the football side has dramatically, the optimism has dramatically increased the minute he took over. And that has trickled down to me, man. We're going to get into a couple of quotes since we're obviously diving into training camp. It's only been a couple of days. I ain't about to make no speculations off a couple plays that comes off on the internet. But what people are saying is, not even in pads yet. But some of the things that people are saying is interesting. But I want to give y'all the floor, man. And just seeing how y'all are feeling the week into the new ownership change. Magic Johnson came in and gave his player motivated speech, man. I love the way when he was in his intro presser or his intro statement, just understanding that, you know, anything he touches, like, he's here to get a dub. Like, he's here to win, and he's here to win like championships. And to have that in your backing as Josh Harris is the owner, majority owner of the team within his partnership is pretty incredible to have. And I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys do on the field. And like I said, we'll transition to that in a second, but I'll give y'all the floor just to see how y'all are feeling a week into the Josh Harris ownership tenure, and also what you've been observing via social media, maybe even at the training camps, or just the optimism, the vibe surrounding the team.
I mean, I think it's definitely good to see that, you know, the fan base is getting more engaged. They're outwardly showing their efforts. I mean, I haven't seen it personally as I've been out the country and still out the country, but just, you know, watching Twitter, things that are coming in, Facebook. I can definitely say that people are asking me for tickets for the season already, which is pretty damn weird because it hasn't been like that for a while. So like I said, it's a huge victory for a lot of the people in the fan base. I think for me, I'm more so concerned about engaging with the community and getting the youth back into the Washington football side of things. I think that's hugely important because eventually those kids are going to grow up to be adults like us here on this podcast. You feel me? That's really where fandom starts at. It starts in your youth years. Shoot, my parents are from Liberia, West Africa. They don't know shit about no American football, but you know, coming to the DC metropolitan area in the 80s, they had no choice but to adapt. And me being born in the late 80s, my first words as a kid was touchdown during the Redskins Super Bowl. You feel me? So since then, I've been a diehard Redskins fan. Maybe I don't show it like some of the people on social media or got a whole bunch of paraphernalia, but it y'all can hear me?
Did we?
No,
I was just about to ask Dre if he can hear you because I couldn't.
Yeah, I got a call that came in. Yeah, so I mean, it means something to me, and that's why I'm still in it. You know, regardless of who was the owner, regardless of the win and loss. Did I think about switching teams? Yeah, but it's hard when when that's kind of all you know.
That's real though.
So that's what I'm excited about. You know, for the area, it's now hope. It kind of resembles the Barack Obama presidential race. You feel me? His first year. It's kind of like people are clinging on to hope, change. And that's what, you know, you're wishing to get out of this. I feel like Obama did a great job as president, but, you know, as far as this team, you know, you're just waiting to see what happens down the road, whether it be the stadium location, the rebrand. There's so many different conversations, but we all know the truth. Once September comes and them wins and losses start really counting, all of that stuff kind of goes out the window in some regard. You know, some people like Dre are going to be like, man, I'm just looking forward to next year. But there's a lot of the fan base that is thinking that this is a Super Bowl contender in some degree, or Sam Howell is that guy. He's him at quarterback. But, you know, for now, we'll let them rock out, you know, take their little small victories, got bleachers at training camp. I mean, that's so 1998, but, you know, for this organization, that's something that they haven't experienced.
New things, bro.
Yeah, they haven't experienced. So it's just like, you know, I'm just happy for those people, man. At the end of the day, congratulations to Josh Harris. Congratulations to Mitchell Rose, my friend. Crazy, I got a friend that owns a portion of an NFL franchise. And Magic Johnson, you know, and everybody else a part of that group. I'm looking forward to what they bring to the area.
Yeah, man, for me personally, it just feels like we got something back. I mean, even though I never left as a fan, I mean, I've had the low moments in the Dan Snyder era. It just feels like you're getting your franchise back, your team back, your baby. You know, I started like AJ in the 80s, late 80s growing up. I mean, before I can really remember, you know, being a Redskins fan. You know, my first jersey was Doug Williams in 1987. I had one of those. I got pictures taken with that. And, you know, even during the bad years, I was always there. And then, you know, when Dan Snyder took over, obviously none of us knew what we were in for. You know, you hope for the best. And, you know, we didn't know Dan Snyder as a person, but he came in in as a young owner. And we all thought, oh, this guy's spending money, he's going to do this. But then you start to hear the stories over the years, you see the results, and then you realize that, you're an embarrassment, you're a clown show. I mean, that's what this franchise was for years. I mean, you can be a bad team or a mediocre team, but we were worse than that. We were, we were failure on top of having to hear about stuff outside of football constantly. And it drained a lot of fans. A lot of people left. I mean, so much happened in this Dan Snyder era. And sometimes you didn't even realize you were going through the storm while you were in the storm. But then you realize, hey, everything's bad, and we don't know if anything could ever get good with this guy as an owner, And with Josh Harris, again, it's nothing guaranteed with this guy. It's nothing guaranteed that he's going to come in, he's going to win Super Bowls. But I think at the end of the day, you feel like you're going to be a normal functioning franchise. Maybe you're not winning Super Bowls, but at least you're not destined to fail, or at least you're not in the news for, bullying your workplace staff and all of that. We heard so many of those stories with Dan Snyder over the years. We witnessed the firings of coaches. We witnessed guys coming here like the Marty Schottenheimers, the Michael Shanahans. All of those guys had high reputations coming in under Dan Snyder, and they all left with worse reputations than they came in with. That was just a common theme. Like Joe Gibbs was probably the only guy that still walked out with a high reputation under Dan Snyder. And because it's just hard to, knock Joe Gibbs off the pedestal that he's on. But again, you just felt like no one that this guy brought in, you were going to see success in, because he always had his hand in the pot somehow. I mean, early on, it was the meddling. Then later on, it was just the behind the scenes stuff, and you hear the stories later on. But at least with Josh Harris coming in, like I said, you just feel like you have some kind of hope. There's something to cling to. And at the very least, like I said, you feel like with this owner that you're going to just be a normal functioning friend. Even if you're not Super Bowl winning, you feel like, you have something, year by year, you may have some hope. You have a place where you could cultivate and develop talent, maybe. I know we always talk about the quarterback question. We haven't had a quarterback in a long time. A lot of people say, well, what's the owner got to do with that? Well, it starts at the top with cultivating the environment for guys like that to come in and succeed. Franchise guys, the franchise guys we've had in the past, they were tied to ownership in some kind of way, and it, got in the way of coaches. So, with Josh Harris, the guy, he's, almost 60 years old. He owns a couple of sports franchises, and, Philadelphia 76ers, they may be a disappointment in their respective league, but they are in contention every year in their conference. The Devils, I don't follow hockey too much, but people say that, at least they are respected. So, this guy runs respected organizations. Magic Johnson's always been around success in his life, whether it was on the basketball court, whether it's owning things. The rest of those guys, the Mitchell Rails, all of these guys, anything they step into, they're successful. So you feel like at the very least, you're going to have an adult and adults running the show. And that's all I want to see. And that's all we can ask for. And now, I want to get to the point where we're not talking about ownership anymore. We're talking about football. We're talking about personnel. We're not talking about, oh man, this owner, he's just making crazy decisions. I mean, it's going to get to that point eventually where we're not talking about this. But right now it feels good. It feels new. And like you said, Mual, like Thursday, when they announced the decision, I see all of the fans. I couldn't get down to the bullpen, but I wish I was
just
down
about to
there.
say, I wish I was able to. I just started driving again. I wish I shouldn't say that.
And that's, I wish I was a part of that, but I wasn't able to get down there. But you just saw and felt the different energy. I mean, that's the energy that this town has missed with this football franchise, even during the bad years. And I know AJ mentioned the bleachers, and that's something that, is 1998, but it makes you realize that as a fan, we haven't had a real fan experience. We haven't even realized we've been missing that real fan experience. When I seen those bleachers go up, I'm like, what? Wow, we're getting that. I want to go to training camp now. Like, that's a real experience. It's a start. So we're hoping for more of that going forward.
And I think another way to add on to that, and we can transition to the field side. I think one thing too, that a couple things now I think about it. A couple things is like, you transitioning to football. I think it really starts now. To be honest with you, like, sure, it's the ownership thing is fresh, but now you're not even like, think about it like this. When do you even? When was the last time you even mentioned like a Dan thing? Like, you haven't even said Dan Snyder since. I'll say it for me. I don't know about y'all. I'll just say it for me. I haven't even uttered Dan Snyder's name. I mean, this is an exclusion since he sold the team. Like, since it was formally So I haven't even mentioned his name, like whether it's spoken verbally or in my head. Like it's just something that doesn't happen for me. And like having the ownership thing is fresh, seeing their face around the field and around the fans and stuff like that is fresh. But to that point, when you talk about winning, you think about a guy like Ron Rivera, who he mentioned in his Tuesday's presser, one of the best things that or one of the most things he's, first off, I'm sorry, Rich, appreciate you checking in. Monty, appreciate you checking in. Marcus, appreciate you checking in as well. Rich said he was there and he drove down from New York to be there. That was something that I really wanted to say before I transition. Hey, but listen though, here's the thing though. I don't blame him, but here's the thing though. Those bleachers that you mentioned about, like that can be small for us, given that like from a macro perspective, it happens around the league in most areas. But like when you improve the fan experience, people want to visit. They want to physically be in an area that is concerning the Washington Commanders, or they want to be at the games. They mentioned that the club section, I think, was sold out or something. I forgot what Jason Wright said since the announcement of the sale. I forgot what he said. It was something where the tickets or the season tickets or something like that was already blown out the water. Like they blew their mark out the water already.
But more, how about the biggest news so far is that DC, Maryland, and Virginia is fighting over who's going to get them now. Like, remember,
they proposed legislation
no
today.
one
this morning for
DC
DC
Snyder before any of this happened. But now since Josh Harris has come into the fold, you're already talking about RFK as a legit option. They're saying Congress is maybe passing a bill to give DC regulation over that land to give to Washington to come back. I mean, that's the type of momentum we've been missing. And that can trickle down all the way to the football field. So I mean, like I said, right now everything, they have to capitalize on this momentum that they have.
100%. What's going on, Magic Man? Appreciate you checking in. But to that point with Ron Rivera, he said he's excited that he can just be a coach now. Like it's no more business side for him. It's none of the administrative things from a business perspective, at least from what he's portraying in his presser when he spoke 2 days ago at the start of training camp. I think another thing that sticks out from Ron over the last couple of days is how he's going to be allotting his time different. I actually notated this reading his presser. We can start from here. Like when you think about the fact that he can now formally delegate, at least on the offensive side of the football. Now, I don't know to what degree he was actually, I don't think he really made so many changes with Scott Turner. Like he let him do his thing up until the point where he said, F it, we're going to run the ball regardless of how tired you are running the football. We're going to run it 2 more times after that, Scott. And I don't care how you feel, but he gave him his leash. But I think when it comes to Eric Bieniemy, like I think he's more confident in what Bieniemy can do. Obviously, he's still mentoring him to whatever degree he needs it or advice or whatever. But at the same time, Rivera's in a space where he can now really be around the defense again. Like it's no more like dipping hands in both sides when you know that he's a defensive coach and he's defensively focused. Does that mean he's going to be intruding on Jack Del Rio? I doubt it. He mentioned in his presser as well. He made a point to mention that Jack Del Rio is still the coordinator, will still put the plans together, and he will still call the plays. But he'll be around a little bit more on the side of the ball that he can maybe give some tidbits to a guy like Jamin Davis or even Khalid Hudson or even Cody Barton when they may need some help at the linebacker spot or just overall just chipping in from a meeting perspective. Who knows? But I think Ron Rivera has an opportunity for him. Now, does it translate to win or losses? I don't know, but he has a better opportunity to fight for his job because he's not really focused on the business side. So I think that's an interesting thing, a byproduct of this ownership thing.
AJ don't
allow him. I mean, but look, if we being real, but it is what it is. Like I don't like the reality is like he may lose his job at the end of the season, but what he gains is a full opportunity to fight for his job without having to worry about the business side or anything being distractions. He can really just hone in on football and coaching.
Hey, but Mual, like it's so crazy. This is literally the same situation that happened to him in Carolina. if you guys ever watched the Carolina Panthers All or Nothing season, this is the same thing he was saying to the media as far as being more hands-on with the offensive coordinators there, defensive coordinators there, and feeling like he didn't have to necessarily be a manager more so. And it was also new ownership in Carolina. That's all I'm gonna say. It's literally playing out the same exact way in a sense.
So listen, I was actually gonna circle back after I got y'all thoughts on that, but after I got your thoughts on his quotes from Tuesday, but AJ, I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. One of the things that I was gonna mention is Ron does a really good job of spinning the media, and he can genuinely be excited right now, but the season hasn't started yet, and he's talking about there's a weight lifted off his shoulder. If you start stressing again, and all of a sudden that attitude comes back, where like he's barking at the media again in the regular season, like that would kind of show his hand. At the very least, I think there's a couple facts here. There could be a couple truths here. I think that he's genuinely excited. And I think he knows that there's an opportunity up here that he has to prove himself in front of new ownership. I mean, it's undoubted. Like it's obvious because he's experienced this in Carolina. Like it's a deja vu situation all over again. So he's not lying when he says he has to prove himself. But can he get the job done is another question. But secondly, like how real was your statements? Like, sure, it's fresh, and I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because again, whole situation and circumstances just changed in Washington / Ashburn. But I was literally going to say, AJ, like he does a really good job of talking to the media, especially in moments where like the bullets aren't really live just yet.
Oh yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, he's won them over with who he is as a person, so they don't go at him as hard. Like most of the pundits that get to be in front of him on a weekly basis, they not going after him. It's those that go after him that aren't in his face. So, yeah, I mean, hey, great opportunity for him to collect his $8 million and get out of here next year. But we'll let it play out.
So AJ, let me ask you this. I want to ask AJ this. With new ownership happening, everybody's happy right now. People looking forward to the season. Me personally, I'm happy. I'm excited for everything. But I'm taking everything in stride. Are you going to be rooting weekly for the team this year, or are you going to be, man, Sam Howell, some shit, Ron Rivera, some shit, everybody getting fired? Like, what's your feeling? Are you excited for the season, or are you just ready for these guys to be fired? What's your feeling right now?
I'm ready. Am I excited for the season? I can't really say I'm necessarily excited for Washington season. I'm excited to see NFL games be back and be in motion. I'm excited for football in general. Over the past couple weeks, I've been having to watch, I don't know, they call San Antonio Rough Riders or whoever, just occasionally on my TV.
What's that, USFL?
Man, I don't even know. It was some type of football that was just on. I almost watched the lingerie bowl or some shit just to get my football fix in. But overall, I think for me, my expectations for the season, I really don't have any. I just want to see an offense that resembles something of today's NFL. You feel me? Something that looks close to a top 10 offense. That's what I want to see. I think, we got an ideal of what Eric Bieniemy is going to run, even in the 2 days of video content that's been put out there from training camp. A lot of jet sweeps, a lot of motion, RPO, all those things. I just want to see them be a productive offense. I don't really know what I'm getting out of the season overall. At the end of the day, I also want to be able to critique Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett. I think the quarterback position is the main thing for this franchise, and I want to see how those two possibly maneuver within Eric Bieniemy's scheme. But I feel like it'd be ignorant of me to go into this year thinking that this offense is going to help them get to the Super Bowl. You feel me? Because it's a lot into the process of being able to run a productive scheme. And I just don't know if they have those pieces yet.
Yeah. Sam, I think Sam. So to be clear, like I'm with you. Obviously, offensive line is forever going to be a question mark until you see it on the field. Dre, I pulled up a tweet that I literally just saw before the show. That I think is really good, worth sharing. You said that you can't endorse Sam Howell until he gives you a legit reason to do so. But you're glad he's getting a chance to prove himself this year. And it's actually adding some good suspense going into the year. Obviously, you said you would love nothing more for him to shock everyone and answer our decades long QB question. And for me, I think what's so interesting about Sam Howell this year, all off season up until the couple days of training camp. How about this? Like when you think of the previous quarterbacks, honestly, since RG3's rookie season, I don't think, and the reason why I say rookie season, I'm talking about like first year quarterbacks in Washington. So even so when I say that, I mean like RG3's rookie season, Kirk Cousins full season as the starter, meaning 2016 training camp. 2018 you had Alex Smith. 2019 Case Keenum. Several thousand other names after that. Whatever. Point being, I think when you look at like those first year quarterbacks in Washington, Sam has been a quarterback this year where you're looking at somebody who, from all accounts, from the coaches, from the players, Jahan Dotson can't stop talking about Sam Howell, and can't stop talking about him in a positive light. I mean, obviously that's his starting quarterback, but I'm saying like to the length in which he gives that effort to give his opinion on Sam Howell, is interesting. But the players, the coaches are appreciating his work ethic. When you listen to some of the beat reporters who were in the locker room last year, they talk about how he was handling himself, whether it's after practices or after games. Like it was all from a professional manner. Like he was studying. And then you look at what he's been applying himself this all season. I say all that to say, like, I don't think I've seen a person like when you think about RG3's rookie season, you're like, yeah, like this shit is real. Like that's what you came across when you heard the reports in training camp. Like this shit is real. And you understood it early on. And when I hear about Sam Howell, it's not about like, oh, he's the real deal or he's a dog. It's more so like it's always a next step that people are acknowledging that he's taking. And it's not like somebody who's struggling and stagnant. And that's why I say, for me, I'm very interested in seeing how this thing plays out with Sam Howell. To your point and what you mentioned, Dre, like I'm optimistic about him. I'm not going to sit here and claim anything. And that's why I can't wait to see him. I'll be out there next week. And I can't wait to see him in person. But like that climb, that progression is something that we haven't talked about from a first year quarterback in a long time. It's always been somebody who just can't get something, or they have huge down days. And obviously, again, 2 days in a training camp, so the story is not over. It's not closed. Like he's not a done deal. We'll see what's up. But I just like where things are going to this point.
And for me, with Sam Howell, I really want to be fair to Sam Howell. Like, I don't want to put any expectations on Sam Howell right now. Like, even with that tweet that you mentioned, Maul, most of the people that see it, they agree. They say, hey, that's fair. But then you still have one person that come, why can't you endorse him right now? Like, he already showed you how great he is. I'm like, well, dude, look, it was one game and the stakes weren't high. I don't want to put too much on him and be disappointed. I mean, we've been through this situation many of times. How many training camp stories? I mean, not just at the quarterback position, but any position with the Washington team. We've heard guys looking great in training camp or doing this, that, and the third in training camp, and then they shit the bed when the season comes. Now, and then we're all, turning on the guy, and we hate the guy, and we're making all these angry tweets and whatever. So with Sam Howell, I just want to be fair to him. I mean, Sam Howell, isn't by any means right now considered a franchise quarterback. He was a 5th round pick last year. He just so happens to be thrust into a position where he's starting this year for Ron Rivera because we really didn't have any other option. Like they weren't going to trade for a guy with looming ownership questions. They weren't going to give anybody big money. So Sam Howell's there. They drafted him last year. Why not just put him in? And hey, hopefully Sam is that guy. But at the same time, as a fan, I just want to be fair to him. And I'm loving what I'm hearing about Sam. I've watched Sam in college. As I told the guy today who was pretty upset that I wasn't endorsing.
I went through the comments and saw it. I'm like, bro, why are you tripping about some college stuff and saying why are you mad that he hasn't bought in yet? Like, what's up, bro?
Exactly. I'm like, why do I have to buy in right now? I mean, we haven't seen, and as a Washington fan, you should know with any quarterback. I mean, we've seen quarterbacks have good games here. We've seen quarterbacks go through shitty periods. So yeah, he had a great game against the Cowboys to end the season. Stakes weren't high, and he looked pretty good. I mean, honestly, I won't even say great, but he looked good. Now, give me more. Give me a consistent stretch of games. Let me see Sam Howell come out. Someone even asked me what my expectations were this season. Like, oh, if he looks good against Buffalo and Philadelphia, will you buy in? I'm like, I need to see it consistently throughout the season. People can have good games in this league. I remember what's the quarterback for Green Bay when Aaron Rodgers, I think they set him out at the end of the season, Matt Flynn. He goes out, he kills it at the end of the season. Gets a huge contract with Seattle, and then Russell Wilson, implants him, and the rest is history. But I mean, the point is, quarterbacks can have good games in this league, but can you have a stretch of good games? Can you be the reason why your team is in games? Can you be the reason why your team is winning games? That's what I want to see out of Sam Howell to really declare, okay, this guy is good. This guy can be a franchise guy. And I'm on Sam's side. Like, I actually like Sam Howell, so whatever anyone thinks, I like the guy. I watched Sam Howell in North Carolina. I actually remember Sam Howell in high school because I'm a Florida State fan. He committed to Florida State as a, to come here as a freshman. And in Florida State, he ended up decommitting because his father didn't want him to go to Florida State. He goes to North Carolina. So I followed his career, and I like Sam Howell. I watched him a lot. But can it translate to the next level? There were obvious questions, which is a reason why he went in the 5th round. He didn't go in the 1st round or the 2nd round in what was considered to be a weak quarterback class. People had questions about Sam Howell. I still have questions about Sam Howell, but at the same time, I'm intrigued by Sam Howell. Sam Howell has some traits that I like. I like Sam Howell's arm. I like his gamer mentality. But again, I want to see Sam Howell go out there and put together, can he make good decisions when the heat is on the line? Like it's a clutch moment. Is Sam Howell going to make good decisions? Is Sam Howell going to go out there and win you games? I want to see us win games, not in spite of Sam Howell. I want to see us win games because of Sam Howell. Like Sam Howell has to be a reason for those things. We haven't seen those things yet. We've seen one game against the Cowboys in game 17 of the season in which the Cowboys had nothing to play for. The Commanders had nothing to play for. He looked decent, but can he look decent when the stakes are high? And can he do that for a consistent stretch of games? I don't want to see one good game. I don't even want to see 2 good games. I want to see a string of good games, and there's going to be bad games. Quarterbacks are not going to have perfect seasons, but you want for us to sit up here and commit to this guy and say he's a franchise guy, he has to show you over a long period of time, or at least a consistent stretch. But a lot of fans want you to buy in right now. Like, oh, you have to love Sam Howell right now. You have to get behind him. Look how great he did. Oh, he was the, projected number 1 pick before the 2022 draft or whatever, but he wasn't. So, things happen. Now let's see him just, let's give Sam a chance. Let's give him a fair chance, because again, I don't want to turn on Sam Howell too quick, and I don't want to go out there and hate Sam Howell because he's not living up to my lofty expectations of him. I'm giving Sam Howell a fair chance, and I'm cautiously optimistic about him. I like Sam, and I'm very intrigued, and he actually has me excited for the season because I just want to see what he can bring. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think another thing to add, just when we think about this year and optimism, we're going to transition to the other side of football as the defense. Ron Rivera spoke today at his presser, and he mentioned, firstly, he talked about Chase Young. And side note, Chase Young is out the knee brace, so that's really encouraging. I peeped that through the video and pictures that come along, and obviously they announced it too. He doesn't use the knee brace anymore. But Ron Rivera made this quote, and I'll read it verbatim. When he talked about how Chase Young looked, he said, it's quote unquote, it's good to see Chase Young moving around the way he did. I mean, he's light years ahead of where he was last training camp, and I think that's a big deal for us. And then he transitioned to the overall part of the defense, which I really liked. I think the thing that you can really point to really is just remember last year we talked about how the defense was working on something different and how they were trying to get that zone match down. It's different now. You see them, they're comfortable, they're confident in it. And I know Jack and them looked at it and made a couple adjustments to it. And those players have just adapted to it so quickly. So they're far ahead where they were last season. I think that part in that quote is very important. Another thing that he added is the communication, how big that's become in understanding the different tools that comes with the defenses. Ron Rivera mentioned that, and putting those tools together, using the coaches as obviously a resource and things like that. But all of that being said, you think about where they were last year defensively, trying to pick up a new, I guess, a new toolbox to add into Jack Del Rio's scheme and implementing it throughout the season. But now you have a whole season's worth of reps. You have a whole season's worth of tape. You have a whole season's worth of communication and understanding. And then you're bringing that entire pack of knowledge into this all season and training camp. I think it was Linnell. Shout out to Linnell, who mentioned that, he thought that this defense was going to come out the gates on fire. I honestly am setting my expectations pretty high with this defense off the rip. This side of the football, I'm not really doing the same thing for the offense side of the football, but I think when you think about the situation that they have, and the leadership from the defensive line to the secondary with the young veterans and Cam Curl and Derek Forrest, and obviously Kendall Fuller, like you have something there that can really hold the glue together and make this team just as good defensively as they were last year. And maybe even better with the additive of being able to create turnovers now. So I'm kind of interested in your thoughts on like where are your expectations with the defense? Like, is it as high? Or is it a little bit lower than kind of where I'm at? When I say as high, I'm talking about like I'm thinking this can be a top 5 defense, especially with the defensive line being where it's at, and maybe even being back to what we projected what it could be.
I mean, in regards to this defense, I don't think I see them as a top 5 defense. Not even sure if I'll see them as a top 10 until I see the additions that they made, such as Emmanuel Forbes, actually start making some plays on the ball, and they create turnovers at a higher volume than what we seen last year. Last year was so frustrating as a fan to watch games where they weren't making a difference as far as flipping the field. Even if the offense was going to be stagnant, we just didn't see that enough. But I mean, it will be intriguing. The first matchup of the season is against not the Colts, but Colt McCoy and the Cardinals. So that should be a breeze, hopefully.
Yeah.
Week two, you get Russell Wilson and them boys and Cortland Sutton, Judy, Javonte Williams, and Russell Wilson in Denver. That's a challenge because second week of the season, you traveling all the way to the West Coast to play in that altitude. Then after that, you get Josh Allen. So This defense will be put to the test early with solid quarterback play. Minus Colt McCoy, but in the first 4 weeks, you're going against Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts. So we should get a good indicator of how having Chase back. I've seen video of Chase before even training camp without the brace on at his own little youth camp that he had in DC. Running around, he looks fast. He looks like he's comfortable after the injury and feeling like himself again. And you can see that athleticism, which made him a top pick in the NFL draft. And like he said, he went back to his roots with Larry Johnson, who is famously known as one of the best defensive line coaches in college football history. To get back to what he's familiar with. And I think I also seen today that he had Montez Sweat go with him. as well to Ohio State. So, that's his guy. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, the pass rush will play a major role in the back end being able to create those turnovers like they want in the additions of the Quan Martins and the Emmanuel Forbes. I guess for me, I'm just intrigued to see how this whole slot situation plays out. Because from what I know, I'm not really sure what's happening there. But yeah,
I'm trying not to think about it no more, because that stuff is confusing. And I know they did a lot of rotations in what it was, the OTAs and mini camps, and then last year in the training camps they did so many different rotations in the secondary. You're not wrong. I don't like thinking about that shit.
I mean, it's weird for me. I would say about this defense, I mean, you can't really question much that's going on in the front four. Of course, you can ask questions about the linebacker position, but what they did in the draft with the defensive back selections and what they already have on what they already had on the roster, which seemed to be, average talent at that point with what's returning. I just got questions because it seems like there isn't a defined role for certain players on this team as far as if they're going to be outside or if they're going to be the slot.
I mean, I actually have higher expectations for the defense because when you look at the defensive unit, I mean, it's continuity there. You have a lot of continuity on the defense, especially the defensive line. I mean, those guys have been in the system since, Ron and Jack have been here now. Then you look at the secondary. I mean, I think you have two pretty good safeties in Derek Forrest and Cam Curl, and then you just added Quan Martin, who, is going to be probably interchangeable. I don't know if he's going to, man the slot. It's a good question by AJ as to who will man the slot because – who is that guy on that roster right now? But that's okay. I mean, that may be a hole in the defense. It's not going to be a perfect defense, but I do think that you have enough on that defense. Like, I mean, as it is, this is a playoff defense. I think it's a playoff caliber defense. Now the offense is, obviously is another question. But when you look at the defense, if everyone performs, especially with the defensive line, it starts there. I always say it starts in the trenches. You got two stud monster defensive tackles in Payne and Allen. I mean, you have a really good guy, Montez Sweat. You know what Chase Young is capable of. So if those guys pull together and they be what you think they can be, I mean, that sets the tone for the rest of the defense, in my opinion. Obviously, the biggest question mark, and the question mark has been there for years, is the linebacking crew. I saw a couple of their reports today. Jamin Davis, obviously, he's coming back from injury. He didn't get to participate a lot in like the OTAs and the mini camps. And from what I've seen today, I don't know if they're working them back in slow, but they're saying Khaleke Hudson was linebacker number 1 and Cody Barton was linebacker number 2. But that'd be a little disappointing to me, honestly, if Jamin Davis is not ready in year 3 to start. I mean, it's just, to me, that would just solidify bust and everything, because I'm expecting that leap. And we've also heard, like, we had Kevin Sheehan on the show. Kevin Sheehan was talking Jamin Davis up, and everyone's, a couple of other guys were saying, well, Jamin Davis is the guy that we're hearing good things about. Maybe he's going to flash this year. We need him to flash. Like, we need that guy to come and be something. I mean, because if he is, he was raw when we drafted him, but year 3, you shouldn't be raw anymore. We don't expect raw anymore. And if you are a first round linebacker like Jamin Davis was, drafted to be, he elevates this defense, in another way. He has the speed, obviously, but can he play the game? Can he read, can he make the reads? Can he take this defense to another level? And if he's not there, then obviously, you're grasping at straws. You're hoping Khaleke Hudson something. You're hoping Cody Barton something. So that could be, more of a weakness, so to speak, than the slot position cornerback. But I think you do have some playmakers in the secondary enough that can, capitalize on what the defensive line is going to give you. Like I said, I love Emmanuel Forbes, and I love the fact that he's going against Terry McLaurin and Josh Dotson every day. I mean, Dotson every day in practice. Like, I love that. I even seen people calling him a bust today because he got burnt by Terry McLaurin. Like, one play he gets burnt by Terry McLaurin and he's a bust. I mean, that's fine. I mean, Terry's going to burn a lot of good cornerbacks in this league, even great cornerbacks in this league. But it's good that he's seeing someone like that every day in practice, and that's only going to help him get better. But, you know, obviously playing behind his defensive line, we've been talking about it. Like, he was my favorite pick, and, you know, well, at least one of my favorite picks in this draft because of what I think he can bring behind playing against his defensive line. He's a playmaker. He's a gambler. You know, we talk about D'Angelo Hall and how D'Angelo Hall was that playmaker, gambler type of guy, but he didn't play behind a defensive line like what Washington has right now. So that's why I'm so intrigued by what this defense can, you know, achieve. And I don't want to put, you know, a number on it to say, oh, they're going to be the best defense, maybe even top 5. But I do think they have top 5 to top 10 capabilities, and I would be disappointed with anything less.
We in the same boat, Dre. Like, no question. Armani said that he thinks that Jamin is still coming back from the knee injury. I know that he was still hurt from the offseason. I forgot to what degree, but I know that's the reason why he sat out for most of it. But we'll see. Jamin is obviously going to be a big deal. You think about some areas actually that they struggle. We didn't beat this with a dead horse, but I'll just make just a passing comment. But we've seen the areas in which they struggle to really like find stability, and that's been that linebacker and offensive line spot since Ron Rivera has taken over. And to be honest with you, the one piece of stability that they've been able to really get is Charles Leno at tackle, and Cornelius Lucas as the swing tackle, backup swing tackle. But that's about it. So you think about those two positions altogether. Jamin, I think he'll be fine. Once you know that, I don't know if he's like not fully healthy yet, but I think he'll be fine ultimately. Back, he'll be taking majority of the snaps alongside Cody Barton. I did notice that I saw Barton's presser, like a June presser after one of those practices, probably the mandatory minicamp, where he mentioned, you know, he had an opportunity to be a green dot here. So that's interesting because Jamin was, when he took over for Cole, he was the green dot guy. And he was green dot for, I think, the whole season, the remainder of the season when he took over, whenever that was. So I may be wrong, but I know he was green dot for sure 100% last year. But I wonder how they're going to kind of like, what's their approach this year? Because Cody is talking about how much he loved the opportunity to come here and be in this type of situation. So to what degree that kind of affects one player, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I really think that if Jamin can stay healthy, this is going to be a solid year for him. And I won't go any further than that. We just have to see. But yeah, do we have any other things for that I probably have missed? I don't think the enemy hasn't even spoke yet, so we don't know to what degree he has any thoughts on things. Am I missing anybody? Chase Young, Chase Young really don't get immediate much, but yeah.
Well, I don't think it's. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we got a couple of signings that I don't know how big they are, but it's something I've been honestly kind of wanting the last couple of years, and a lot of other fans been wanting a couple of years. Maybe we have a real kicker competition now. We got Badgley. We just signed him. Yeah. Obviously, we still have Joey Sly, who's been here for a couple of years. But I love the fact that they're finally bringing in a kicker competition. It's been some years since that's happened. I mean, Badgley, he wasn't bad at Detroit, so maybe he comes in. But I seen a tweet from John Keim. John Keim was saying that he's not really that good on kickoffs, which could be an issue. But I'm kind of in the boat of, give a damn if you can kick it in the back of the end zone. Just have a good coverage team. Go down there and tackle the guy. No one was worried about that 20 years ago of, oh man, we can't kick it off, unless you had a Dante Hall or somebody back there that was, running kickoffs. But hey, just go down and tackle the damn guy, man. I don't care if he kicks it out in the end zone.
And Dre, if you can't get touchbacks with how they move the ball closer, that is an issue.
But AJ, let me ask you this. Do you care about touchbacks or do you care if the guy can make field goals? I care if the guy can make field goals consistently than if he can get touchbacks consistently.
I care about field goals, right? But at the same time, if you're kicking on coverage, it's not going to be good. Washington has never really had a good special teams in my lifetime.
Then fix it.
outside of Brian Mitchell time. But coverage-wise, I always get scared when they have to do coverage. I mean, at the end of the day, I did see Joey Sly in the video. I'm like, is this dude trying to be a damn linebacker? Like what's going on
guns,
there? Like,
Yeah, bro, yoked up, bro.
What's going on? Like that boy looked like Brian Cushion.
Hey, Amani, I'm with you, bro. Make a damn field goal. Here's something that I was looking into when I was writing this article for Hawks Haven. From Pro Football Reference, Joey Sly was 85.7% on extra points, and that ranked 25th in the NFL. And he was 83% on field goals percentage, and that ranked him 21st in the NFL. And he's done that in 23 games. So obviously we know he has a strong leg, but to what degree is that worth if you can't make your field goals? Comparatively speaking, Michael Badgley, I looked at his I looked at his stats, but I know he didn't miss an extra point last year at all. Like, it don't matter if your kick gets blocked. Like, that's an issue where you're kicking the ball too low. Or I mean, it could be other issues, but somebody can sneak in or whatever. But I remember, like, sometimes these guys kicks the football is too low, and I'm not going to just 100% put that on Sly. I can't remember every single miss that he had, but for you to not even be in your 90% or higher for any of your field goal or your extra points, like, you deserve to have competition. That's interesting. Go ahead.
Oh,
you
yeah,
got it.
definitely should have competition. But ain't this Sly's his second run with Roundville?
Yeah,
I think
he was in Carolina,
right?
Yeah, he was in Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, for me, man, I'm just ready for preseason. Yeah, like it's good they brought in competition, but we get to see so many different competitions in preseason for this organization, from the offensive line to quarterback to linebacker. Is it going to be Barton and Jamin, or is it going to be Jamin and Kaliki? I probably didn't even say that man's name right. My bad. But, also on the back end, who's going to be the slot? Who's going to be the outside? So that's what I'm intrigued about, man. Like I'm seeing fans clapping for quarterbacks throwing passes against air to wide receivers. Like, oh my God, amazing job. Like, that's the part of training camp I can't stand. Like, nothing really grinds my gears more than that. Like, and a lot of things don't really annoy me. But it's like when I'm hearing fans like round of applause chanting, "Yeah, go boy! Yeah, I like that." I'm like, bruh, it's a wide open receiver with no defense. Like, he should be able to complete that. So I'm just ready for preseason games, man, because it's like even some of the 11-on-11 things, I could see little issues I don't like in Brissett or Howell at quarterback. But at the end of the day, until them boys can actually go out there and sack the quarterback, it don't really do anything for me. So when does preseason kick off again? Is that
2
next
weeks
week?
from Friday.
Like for the NFL?
Well, I know the Hall of Fame game is probably like next. It's always like the the Sunday
Hall of
before
Fame game next Thursday. A week from today.
So yeah. But to follow up on AJ, I'm actually excited too for preseason. I'm ready for that. And another competition that I'm interested to see, and I've been interested in seeing this, is the wide receiver competition from 4 on down. We're talking about the Diami Browns and the rest of those guys. And then also you just brought in Pringle from Kansas City. Well, he played with, I think, the Bears last year. But, I mean, he's a guy that's played in Eric Bieniemy's offense before, and he's had production in the NFL. I've heard some good things about Diami today. He's catching the deep ball. That's good. I hope Diami, he's ready to, stand out this year, or at least, solidify that 4th position. But that's a wide receiver battle that I'm waiting to see, because they have about 13 bodies, I think, in total for the wide receiver group. And a couple of those guys can make that case anywhere between 4 to 6. So that's something to watch. And it's also good for the quarterbacks too, especially for like the Jacoby Brissett's and, I don't even want to mention his name because he's not even that important. I don't even know if he's going to make the team. But Jake Fromm, those guys are going to have guys to throw to in the preseason. Yeah, exactly. But they're going to have guys to throw to in the preseason that's, fighting like hell. Even the Mitchell Tinsleys, the undrafted free agent guys, there's going to be a hell of a battle. And also, kind of something that we haven't really been talking about, that I think, is something key too, because it was something that was a concern of mine last year, is the return game. who's going to step up and be the return guy? Because Dax Milne wasn't it last year. I mean, obviously we've seen that, but Pringle was a guy that has shown that he can do that. He can return the ball. He did it in Kansas City. You signed an undrafted free agent, Kashmir Allen. He's a guy who can step up, but we don't know. That's a position. Who's going to solidify that return spot this year? Also, is something I'm going to be watching for in preseason.
I like Pringle. I don't think he's anybody special, but I think like what he does well, like is after a play breaks down. Like he's a very friendly receiver for the quarterback. He knows how to get himself open. He has some ability to win quickly, but he's not like that fast of a player. So I remember somebody said on Twitter that he's a fast guy. He's not that fast. But I mean, like when you're in open field and you know how not to be caught, then that is what it is. He's been able to do that on special teams, and that's the reason. Like he has really good vision with the ball in his hands. But also he's a really good blocker too. So like he's a multi-purpose receiver, and I think when you have a known trait or traits that can benefit a team, especially when you sign to a coach who has coached you at his previous stop, you are a player that is probably already climbed the charts of the competition, and is probably eliminated a couple people already. Now you have to show that, all right, he still got it type of deal. But if you show that, then like you're already secured. Whether that's the fourth spot, I don't think it's going to be the fourth spot, but it may be that fifth spot where you can still find your way in a rotation in certain packages and things like that.
I mean, I think, Maul, you just laid out perfectly why De'Ami Brown may not make this roster. I mean, what does he do? What does he do? What does he do well? Like, even the clip I seen today, like that was a 50-50 ball on the fly route. The route was nasty. Like the route tree does not exist for that boy. Like at the end of the day, what more can you bring to this wide receiver room? Like he doesn't play special teams great. When you talk about a Pringle, that's a guy that has seemed to find his niche within the NFL ranks. Like he knows exactly who he is. He's not trying to go out there and be number one, number two, but he's just a versatile guy that can do everything. Like he can catch in between the numbers, he can block, he can play special teams, whether it be on coverage or actually, as a kick returner, punt returner. Whereas other guys, because I mean, you look at the wide receiver corps, it's Terry, Jahad Dotson, Curtis Samuel. We mentioned Kashmir Allen. You added Pringle. You also got Matt Kent. You got that other boy over there, Dax, aka Mayo. You got De'Ami, and what you got Mitchell. It's Mitchell Tinsley.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think you probably got another wide receiver. Like a lot of those guys can't make the team. You probably gonna keep Kashmir because you could use him also as a halfback. Like where does De'Ami fit in? Like that's where I'm kind of confused at. Like, because I think Pringle makes the roster.
I think Pringle makes it too.
We're gonna see. You guys ready?
No, I'll just say I think Pringle makes it too. But I mean, I still have I honestly will be shocked if De'Ami doesn't make the roster. I mean, he's been here a couple of years. But I mean, at the same time, anything could happen. I mean, because like I said, it's going to be an intense competition when you look at 4 to 6. That 4 to 6. Like you said, even Marcus Kemp, the other guy from Kansas City, he's a guy that's been in Eric Bieniemy's system. Not to say that anybody from Eric Bieniemy's system is going to have preferential.
He definitely don't got the resume though.
Yeah, but he plays special teams, like AJ was saying. Like AJ was mentioning that doesn't really do
his benefit. He got the height. He got the height more than anybody else on the roster.
Right. And then Dax Milne. I mean, like I said, it's gonna be. That's why I said like a lot of people might not be looking at this too much because it's 4 to 6. People are looking at more of the 1 to 2s, the 1 to 3s, but the 4 to 6 wide receiver competition, I think it's gonna be intense. And De'Ami does have to really show something this offseason, whether it's in training camp and preseason, and not only just preseason, We also have a joint practice against the Ravens this season. And I'm interested in that too, because that's going to tell us something too. Like those joint practices have always told us things, that preseason has also told us. Like training camp might not tell you much because you're going against the same guys every day. But joint practices, you're going against another team and, you're seeing someone else. And now who's going to shine in those? So that's going to also tell you something too when it comes to the competitions that we're looking forward to.
You're not lying. I think AJ said it best, and Dre, you just reiterated it. Training camp scrimmages or the joint practices and obviously preseason games can't come quick enough to our TVs and whoever's going to the games or the practices. For us right now, I think we're good. We'll circle back on Tuesday because that'll give. I'll be up there on Tuesday to make my little observations and stuff like that. So we'll be back on Tuesday. The commander side of Chopper Dive. We'll be able to give some more in depth on what I've been able to see in real time. And we can discuss some things in that way. Obviously, gear up for whoever was at the podium or presser that day and things like that. So with that being said, fellas, man, it's good to be back, bro. Football here, man. We here every week until whenever. I don't know. We got a few months. We got a couple months. But no, that's gonna wrap it up for us. I appreciate everybody who was in the chat. Monty, Magic, Marcus, Monty, Rich, and the fellas. But yeah, we'll be out of here. Y'all be safe. Enjoy y'all day. Enjoy y'all weekend as well. But yeah, peace. Oh.